Okay.
Sorry, I didn't want to be the source of the feedback before I started speaking.
It's okay.
All right, welcome everybody. Tonight is Tuesday, April 14th, 2026. This is our first meeting of April. Thanks everybody for your cooperation in moving last week's meeting due to spring break. I hope those of you in attendance had a good one. And if you didn't go on spring break, sorry, we all had to work. We're going to go ahead and start our meeting with the invocation. And I didn't ask anybody. Is there anybody who wants to volunteer? If not, I'll take it. All right, I'll take that and then followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Please join me. Dear Father, thank you for bringing us together today as a group of very concerned community members, both here on the council and in the chambers and online, as we're just concerned about making sure we do everything we can to make this a great, robust, financially stable, and invigorating community for decades and generations to come. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. All right, we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order and start off with roll call. Looks like it should be an easy one tonight. Councilmember Darrow.
Here.
Councilmember Severs.
Present.
Councilmember Ball. Here. Mayor Pro Tem Dan Dunn.
Happy to be here.
Councilmember Klingler.
Here.
Councilmember Kurtz.
Present.
Councilmember Fisher. Here. All right, we are all present and accounted for. We are up to agenda approval. Do we have any requests for amendments to the agenda tonight? All right, not hearing any.
Madam Mayor, I move the agenda as presented.
Second.
We have a second by Councilmember Severs. All those in favor of approving the agenda as presented, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion passes 7-0. All right, we have approached our first session of citizen comments. We do have several here in chambers. If there's anybody online who'd like to make a citizen comment, please send a note to our meeting host through the chat feature. We will get to the online comments after we do in person. Just remember, this is truly a comment session, no feedback from the council, but if we do need to follow up with you, we have your contact information on the sheets. 3-minute time limit, any topic at this point. Do we want to address the potential topic for next week or?
Not at this time.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. Okay. So you have 3 minutes and I will hold everybody to that just to make sure it's fair for everyone. So first up is Lynn Atkins. Welcome.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I was honored recently to serve as part of the CFP work group. Our role was to validate the methodology used for prioritization and help create an objective project ranking system. Our city staff did an outstanding job. The level of service standards and supporting data for streets, traffic control, equipment, and parks were thorough, well-supported, and clearly tied to growth. With analysis from Parametrics, CityLogic, and the Parks and Recreation Master Plan, those sections of the CFP are solid, data-driven, and defensible to the public. However, I believe there is an opportunity to strengthen the plan further, and it is in the facilities category, specifically the library and the police department. I raise these two areas intentionally. First, the Capital Facilities Planning Guidebook states that the CFP informs the public, developers, and decision makers about the level of service that will be maintained as growth occurs. Second, our city is growing quickly. That growth is increasing demand on public safety and library services, and we need a clear understanding of how that translates into facility needs. Third, level of service is about timing. It defines when a facility shifts from adequate to constrained, and from constrained to deficit. That is what allows us to plan ahead instead of react. Fourth, the library and the police department are physically interconnected. So decisions in one area directly affect the other. They should be evaluated through a consistent framework. Without clear level of service standards in these areas, facilities will continue to lag behind growth. That leads to strained services, reduced access, and greater pressure on staff and infrastructure. When level of service is defined, it does three things. It improves prioritization, it increases transparency, and it strengthens funding decisions, whether through grants, donors, or voters. As the city grows, these services must grow with it. Otherwise, we create a system under strain where public safety, infrastructure, and library access are stretched beyond their intended capacity. So my ask is straightforward. Develop clear data-driven level of service standards for the library and police department and use them to guide facility planning, prioritization, and timing within the CFP. I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Apologize for the timer. I had it here. Great. Okay, next up we have Tom Solberg. Welcome. Tom.
Good evening, neighbors, staff, and electeds. Tom Solberg, Liberty Lake River District. Ordinance 75 establishes the Planning Commission. In Section 5, related to meetings and rules, reads, under duties and responsibilities, the Planning Commission, as an advisory body to the City Council, shall perform and have the following duties and responsibilities. Number one is to assist in the preparation of a comprehensive plan and development regulations. Further on, Number 7 says that we are to make monthly written and oral reports to the City Council, setting forth the progress in completing that work. The last time the City Council had a report from the Planning Commission was on May 20th of 2025. By then, Chair Joe Mann, because we have new City Council members who haven't heard a report, and other members may be interested in what we've done in the past 11 months. Here's a short recap. Since May of 2025, the Planning Commission has had 20 regularly scheduled commission meetings. After the comp plan kickoff, November 1st of 2024, we started having meetings twice a month starting in January of 2025 in order to complete our extensive work on the comprehensive plan. We have had numerous presentations, discussions, and multiple revisions on the mandatory elements of the comp plan, including land use, housing, capital facilities plan, utilities, economic development, parks and recreation, and climate change and resiliency. Our staff and consultants have done an amazing job of presenting to us, and then huge amount of work in multiple workshops, including tonight's on the 20-year capital facilities plan that Penn's going to be giving you. Thanks to Amy, Lance, Kathy, there's our staff, and directors Ben Turner and Jen Camp for all your help in this. In addition to our regular meetings, members of the Planning Commission have been involved in 5 subcommittees: Design Review, Climate Policy Advisory Team, Capital Facilities Master Plan, Sidewalk Master Plan, and Pedestrian Bicycle Safety, as well as participating in a town hall, farmers markets, community events, and holding joint meetings with the Community Engagement and Parks and Arts Commission, for a total of over 45 meetings in the last 11 months. I'm not telling you this in order for the Planning Commission to give you more reports. Most of you know me better than that. In fact, as soon as possible, after our work on the comp plan is completed, we will propose a language change in Ordinance 75, removing the mandatory monthly reports and suggesting it be changed to periodic so that we're not violating our own ordinance. You're all welcome to attend our meetings and give your input and feedback. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And we'll make a special spot in the agenda for reports. Yes, we will. All right, next up, Mark Saba. Careful, he may ask for volunteers for the dunk tank.
Nope, got them all. Schedule's full.
Got them all. Notice there's some changes over at Legacy. Oh, by the way, I'm Mark Saba. I am a resident of Liberty Lake. Some changes over by the church. There's a fence up and it looks like City Hall is going to be starting to form. With that said, I've got a couple suggestions when the new City Hall opens up. One of them is, I think, I'm going to suggest this, and this is only a suggestion. I think we should have a wall where we have a picture of every current city council member who is in office along with the mayor. Just a thought, okay? My other thought is, I think we should have a memory wall in memory of. We just we lost Shane Brickner a while back, and I think it would be nice if we had a plaque commemorating him. We also lost about a year ago, 2 years ago. Chris, help me out. About a
Couple.
year ago.
A couple.
Yeah, Bob Moore, another council member. And I think, we should show recognition to those who did give their time and are no longer with us. And that's just a couple suggestions. I think, if you want us to do over them, and just a thought, something that I came up with, thinking in my backyard. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice.
All right, and next up, Craig Phobes, welcome.
Thank you, Mayor, council members. My name is Craig Phobes. I am a resident of the River District in the city. And I'm here tonight to speak to the capital facilities plan as relates to the size of the library that is indicated in the presentation that you will shortly see. On the first or second slide of the presentation, in the purpose slide, it says, purpose of the capital facilities plan is to, quote, make sure that, quote, planned facilities keep pace with expected growth. In the facilities slide that you will see in the presentation, it lists the library at 16 to 19,000 square feet. For those of you who haven't curled up in front of the fireplace with the 2018 library analysis that the city hired, let me remind you where these numbers came from and how they were computed in an effort to have you realize why they should not still be here. The capital facilities plan, starting on page 11, goes through 3 different methods for sizing up the library appropriately. The first method was a square foot per capita standard, and it analyzed various sources for that standard. They ranged from half a square foot per capita to 2 square feet per capita. And in that report, they settled on 1 square foot per capita. They then looked at 2 other methods for determining the size of the library. The second method was looking at cities of comparable size, cities in our region of comparable size to Liberty Lake, and what size of libraries they had. The third method they looked at was a programmatic analysis. What are the programs the library has? What are the size of the collections, and what's the square footage needed for that? Then the consultants boiled that down and said, we're going to use 1 square foot per capita as our standard. And people can disagree with that, but I'm not here to debate that standard. I'm here to have you apply it. These numbers, 16,000 to 19,000 square feet, were computed in the 2018 analysis based on the city population of 11,000 at the time and a projected maximum city build out of 18,000 people. And then using the square foot standard, and they went from 8/10 to 1, they come up with these numbers.
I'm gonna have to stop you. Your 3 minutes is up. Sorry. Thank you. If you'd like to follow up, Craig, with the email to the council, I'd suggest that. Okay. Do we have anybody online? We do not. Let me just make sure I got everybody here. Yes, I did. And we do not have any written comments. Okay, so go ahead and move on to announcements, proclamations, and special presentations. First up, we have Spokane Conservation District. Hi again. How are you?
Hey, thank you, Mayor and council members, for allowing us some time this evening on your agenda. I'm Vicki Carter. I'm the director of the Spokane Conservation District, and with me tonight are 2 of my coworkers, Cole Leroy, who helps me out with legislative and governmental affairs, and a very new employee, but old friend, Mike Baden, who is our new conservation services manager. I'm here tonight to talk to you a little bit about what we do and who we are. I've come to these meetings before, but it has been a while, so a lot of new faces for me. And also to tell you about our rates and charges proposal, which will be going before the Board of County Commissioners this August. And it's also an opportunity to invite the public out to a couple of meetings that we have coming up where they can be a part of this. I'm happy to pull into your parking lot tonight and see that you are a Tree City USA of 21 years. Congratulations. That's a program that we support through the Conservation District. I have a slide presentation. Is that up or available? Okay. Well, while that's coming up, oh, perfect. Okay, we can go to the next one. Thank you. I'm just going to give some very brief conservation district history. So if you don't know, conservation districts were born right out of the Dust Bowl. This, in fact, is a picture of Liberty Lake in 1932. And I'm just joking. But you can see as these black dust clouds rolled across the United States, there was federal legislation that came out in 1935. The state of Washington enacted that legislation in 1939, and in Spokane County, we formed our first conservation district under the state law in 1941. So we've been around for a long time. We've actually been in Spokane County acting as your conservation district since 1941. Originally, there were 4 districts in this county, and in 73, we consolidated those. I wasn't there, but it wasn't long after that that I came on board. So there across the US, though, there are over 3,000 conservation districts. 45 of them reside right here in Washington State. And you can go to the next one. In Spokane County, we follow the county jurisdictional boundaries. That's not always true in, across the entire landscape, but it's widely true. But for us, that means that we follow the county geographical boundaries, and that equates to over 1.1 million acres of land. In that, there's nearly 500,000 that's in agricultural lands, over 400,000 or close to 400,000 in forested ground. It's also over 500 miles of rivers, streams, and tributaries, and 68 lakes, of course, one of which resides right here in your great city, and 1 conservation district. We're governed by a board. It's called a Board of Supervisors. It's much like a board of directors. 3 of those positions are elected, and 2 of those are appointed by the state. Next slide. So we're called under state law a special purpose district. And what that means is that we provide services, and that can be in the form of technical assistance, financial resources, and environmental education to our constituents and to all of the landowners and land users of Spokane County. And we do this all on a voluntary approach. And what that means is that we have no regulatory or enforcement authority. We do this all by the goodwill of people that want to do stewardship on their land or lands. And that means both private and public. So that could be that we're working with the city, and we often do. We've done projects with the city of Liberty Lake. I was around back in the early 90s during the timber projects that were held out here. We worked with BJ Adams on a number of different projects with some of the water resources. And there's been, we've done our Trout in the Classroom release days out at Liberty Lake. So lots of different ways that we have been involved with your city as well as Tree City USA. You can go to the next one. What that looks like on the landscape for a lot of this is some of our programs. These are just a few of the many that we offer, but our tree and shrub sale, this just happened last weekend for us. If you're not familiar with it, a lot of people know us as the tree sale people, but we have been putting out over 100,000 seedlings every year since 1974. It started with the World's Fair, the Expo, and it was part of an Earth Day event that we held, and we have not missed a year. So 52 years running, it's our longest running program, and still doing it today. If you missed out last weekend and it was so much fun down at our property, we still have trees available. You can all come in. There's still great things to choose from. From there, we also offer technical assistance. As I mentioned, we have all kinds of programs that help landowners, one of which is a Firewise assessment. So those landowners that might be in an area susceptible to wildfire. And that doesn't necessarily mean that they live out in the woods. As we all know, wildfire is around us everywhere, and including in a lot of our urban areas. And this year is going to be particularly interesting with the conditions that we're experiencing with the low snowpack, and it's going to be expected to be a hotter than normal summer. So these are things that we can offer our landowners, and we do this for free. River restoration, this is a big one. This is where our big construction projects come in. And I can honestly say, I've been around now with the district for 36 years. We are seeing the numbers change in Hangman Creek. If those of you that are familiar with Hangman Creek, we're actually starting to see numbers change, which is so great. And some of that is because we're able to get in these very large multi-mile restoration projects that are now connected one upon the other. So they're actually making a difference. But we also work up in Spokane, the Spokane River watershed, and then across the different lakes. Newman Lake is one that we're actively working in right now, but it's just across the entire county. And then again, I mentioned environmental education. We work with everybody from, we call it K to the grandparents. So we have backpacks that are on site on our property that we check out for families on 5 different natural resource subject matters. They're fantastic. But we also just enacted a new program with the community colleges of Spokane. It's called NRAP, Natural Resources Apprenticeship Program. And we actually pay for students 18 to 24 years old to go into a 2-year program at the community college in one of the 5 natural resource programs that they have. And then we employ them for the 2 summers in between and turn them out with an education and as workforce careers. So it's a fantastic program. We're just starting our 2nd cohort of students, and it's one that I think will, benefit widely across our region. And hopefully a lot of these people will stay in this area and benefit us through their work that they do. All right, the biggest question that we get, and I'm sure that many of you are wondering this. Next slide. How are you funded? It's the biggest question we get. If you look, that the largest part of this pie chart is 76%, nearly 76% is grant funded. We've become masters of writing grants. And that is because conservation districts typically do not have what we call stable funding. We do not have a stable source from the state. We're not a part of a state line budget, so there's no direct funds that come to us. So we've become masters of writing grants and awards. There's about 10% that comes from non-grant funds, and those are some of the programs that we do have, like our workshops and conferences and events that we hold, our tree sale. So that brings in about 10% of our budget. But the rest of that is made up from about 15% is rates and charges, and that is what I am actually here to talk to you about tonight and what that means. So you can go to the next slide. This actually started back in 1991 with a couple of our own county commissioners here in Spokane, as well as some state legislators. Bob McCaslin was one of them. I was trying to think of all of them. But they realized that conservation districts were really lacking funding, and they went to the state legislature and they asked for what was called an assessment. And an assessment is not a tax. It is different. It is based on, it's a flat fee. It's not based on a property value. And at the time, the state legislature in 1991, they passed that. And Spokane Conservation District was the very first district in Washington State to receive that. Today, out of the 45, I think we have 22 districts that do have an assessment, or what's now called rates and charges, and the rest of those do not. And there's reasons for that, just depending on their county makeup, and a lot of them have a lot of federal lands. But we were lucky enough to do that, and that was a game changer for us because that allowed us to be able to take that funding and match it, and that's where we became so successful in that grant writing, because as you guys know, and I know you have a lot of grants too, they all require match. So free money is never free. And sometimes that match is 10%, but there are grants that it's up to 50%. So once we were able to do that, we were able to bring in larger amounts of money and get more conservation on the ground. So from 1991 to 1998, that was $3 per parcel that we received. 1998, the county commissioners, they are the ones that govern this. So we don't even have the ability to set the rate ourselves. The county commissioners raised it to $5. In 2014, the state legislature changed the wording to a rates and charge rather than assessment. And they did that because it just better described how we offer our services, because some of them are direct benefits to a landowner and some of them are indirect. And an assessment was not the correct legal term for that. So they changed that. And when they did that, they also said, and by the way, conservation districts, you can go up to $15 per parcel. We did not do that. We waited until 2019 when our rates and charges expired, went back to the Board of County Commissioners, and they increased us to $10, 5 to 10. So we're here tonight to talk to you because we're going to be going back to the county commissioners in 2027, but all of this work has to be done now, and asking to move from 10 to 15. Just this last year at the state legislature, they moved that rate up to $25 with an inflationary clause so that they don't have to open up the legislation again, in another 5 to 10 years. So we're going to be asking our Board of County Commissioners for an increase going from $10 to $15 per parcel. You can go to the next slide and I'll show you what that looks like. So, well, let's first talk about this is that leveraging. So for every dollar that we bring in, and right now it's about $2 million, we're able to leverage that, and we're able to, our return on that is about a 5 to 9x return on those dollars. So our annual budget goes from $2 million to, like this year was $16.8 million. That is all money that's going directly on the ground in conservation programs. So that is why Spokane County is known nationwide for the programming that we have and the services that we're actually able to put on the ground. But what that looks like just this last year, and if you want to go to the next slide, please. That helped us do over 200 of those wildfire assessments that I talked about, where we actually go to a landowner's home and prepare an assessment for them. Over 1,000 residents attended our educational conferences and workshops. We have a loan program for farmers and producers to purchase no-till conservation equipment. So that equipment is very expensive, to the tune of $250,000 to $500,000. And this is a low interest loan program that they're able to access because we're able to leverage that money for them and convert from that conventional tillage equipment to conservation tillage equipment. That's also what's helping Hangman Creek, is we're not disturbing the soil in some of the ways that have been done in the past. Again, well over 100,000 seedlings planted, and in just including this last year, we have changed over 27 miles of riparian habitat, opening up what we call fish passage barriers, so allowing fish to pass through these old culverts that needed to be replaced. So that's one of the construction projects that we do. So that's just a sampling of some of the work that we do. You can change, next slide, please. So again, that that current rate that we're at right now is $10, and we're proposing to go to $15. The monthly impact to a landowner, to a person paying this on their annual taxes, is 42 cents per month. And I like to break it down this way because I am positive that each one of you could go to your car right now and find that in your cup holder. And that's exactly what it is 42 cents. And when you look at that and you realize the bang for the buck that we get, and the fact that we are able to get that much conservation, making our county and our cities that much better of a place to live, and provide that much more public safety in terms of wildfire, water quality, and some of the other great benefits that we bring. And you can go to the next one. So there it is right there, 42 cents. Safer forests, cleaner water, resilient communities. And again, I heard, Mayor, you talk about in your invocation about having, a healthier and better, more robust future for generations to come. And that's what we believe in as well. And one more, if you will. Just putting it all in pictures for you. This is just some of the ways we serve our community. Up in the top left, that's a picture of some of those NRAP students out on a project, and they're learning all kinds of job skills in both forestry, urban forestry, water resources, wildlife biology, and small farm and acreage. We're the ones that own Vets on the Farm. If some of you are familiar with that, that's up on the South Hill. It's a veterans program that we started in 2015, where it's a transitional program for veterans to leave their military career and go into agriculture. And it's a training farm that we started. So that's that middle picture. The next one over on the top is our tree cell. There's, literally hundreds of thousands of seedlings that we package up and get out to the community. We do field days with farmers, bringing in renowned experts from all over the world to help them with some of the problems that we're experiencing in the Pacific Northwest. Down in the bottom left corner, that's the Scale House Market. Have any of you attended or been there yet? The Scale House Market. So we bought the property on the corner of 8th and Havana in 2017. It was the old Spokane Rocks product site. It's an old rock quarry. It's 50 acres. The Conservation District bought that, and we are restoring it and turning it back into this beautiful conservation campus. And one of the things that was left over was called the Scale House, and it was this building that was 16 feet wide and 165 feet long. And they used to run the trucks through it with a scale in the bottom to weigh out the asphalt or the rock or whatever they were loading the trucks with. It was just an old concrete building, but it was as a good conservationist, we did not have the heart to tear it down. And so we put it in our master plan as an incubator business, not knowing what that would be someday. And today it's turned into this very vibrant year-round permanent market where we now have over 125 small farms and vendors in there year-round. The public has been able to come in. We host events there. So not only are we helping these farmers and small businesses be able to have a place to market, we have, in just the first 6 months, we brought in over $1.2 million in revenue. That was $40,000 in local sales tax that was collected that gets to stay in our community and not sent out somewhere else. Created 15 new jobs, and we had over 50,000 visitors tracked. And 2/3 of those were not from here. Those are people that are coming in as true visitors to Spokane and the Spokane area. So for tourism and being able to showcase the great place that we live, we're just so pleased and so proud. On May 30th, we celebrate our 1-year anniversary, and I would love to see you out there. So come visit if you haven't been out there before. And then, of course, a couple pictures of conferences that we hold out in Center Place, and just, again, the numerous programs that we have for landowners where we are out there on site, side by side, giving advice or cost share opportunities, technical services, et cetera. And I think I have one more. We have a couple of opportunities coming up for the public, and this is what I wanted to let your constituents know. On May 12th at 6 p.m., we'll be holding our own public hearing and public meeting. Well, I'll be presenting pretty much this same thing, but an opportunity for people to come in and provide testimony, ask questions, get to know us a little bit better, see our beautiful property if you haven't been there before. And again, we'll do the same thing, a repeat on June 16th at 2 p.m. And just invite you all out, and then we'll take all of that information to our county commissioners in August. And that is it. I don't know if you were going to allow me any questions tonight or not.
Yeah, I was gonna.
I'm happy to answer any questions from council members if you had them.
We got Councilmember Ball and then Mayor Pro Tem.
Okay.
Well, I think this is fantastic, and I'm happy to pay my 42 cents.
Thank you.
And so, question on this NRAP, natural resource, what was the rest?
Apprenticeship program.
Apprenticeship.
Mhm.
So they get 2 years of
Yes,
college
paid for
at one of the community
at
colleges?
the Spokane Community College, SCC.
Okay, and they have to study conservation?
Yes, there's 5 programs offered.
And then they get a job? Or
During the summers between, as they go to school, the winter or fall, winter and spring, and then the summer, we employ them paid. They get a paid internship. Mhm.
okay.
Yeah, so our first cohort's just graduating this year, and over half of them already have jobs in the industry moving out. So we're very pleased, and we're just now taking applications for our second cohort to start in June.
Okay.
Fantastic.
And then, what was the other question?
No.
Oh, back to the scale house. Yeah, I drove up there, but I didn't have time to go in it, but I am curious, so.
Well, if you come, please stop by the Conservation District office. We're right next door. Ask for me. I'd love to give you a personal tour. We have a commercial kitchen on site. We have state-of-the-art equipment for those for the vendors. One of the things that is so unique to this is that they can actually refrigerate their product right there. They're not having to haul it home in coolers and keep it at temp, or lose product because of viability. But they also have within our refrigeration room, each refrigerator, it can convert either to a freezer or refrigeration, and each one of them locks. So they have control over it. There's no cross contamination. There's no borrowing butter from the neighbor. There's, none of those things that happen. So it's a game changer, honestly. And it's allowed people, which is really interesting, to literally scale their business to the right size, and all of that being done under the guise of it being the scale house. So it's just really cool. Yeah.
Thank you. It looks cool.
Yeah, the scale house market. Yeah.
So, so is it the same vendors all the time then? Since I
No,
have to
we do have our regulars, our anchor tenants, but we also have a lot of pop-ups. So for this last weekend, when we held the tree sale, we have our normal, there's 125 vendors in there, but we expanded to 140 because we had that many pop-ups. And then over the summer on Saturdays and Sundays, there will be additional produce vendors that will come and do fresh produce as well.
Thank
Mhm.
you.
Right, we got Mayor Pro Tem and then Councilmember Quinlan.
Sure.
How are capital projects selected or planned by the Conservation District?
As far as the ones that are building, well, we got kicked out. So we used to be down at the fairgrounds. If you recall that old building with the Master Gardeners building, most people know it, right next to the baseball field. We were there. It was owned by the county, and we had a 25-year lease. We started asking for more space because we were running out of space about 2 years before our lease expired, and they were not willing to negotiate anything. And pretty soon people started showing up with tape measures and cameras and briefcases. And we thought, they're not renewing our lease. So we started looking around for property, and it just happened because the Vets Farm is located up off the Old Palouse Highway. I used to drive from our building onto Havana and 8th, and I passed this property probably 1,000 times. It has the concrete fencing and the big iron gates, and I always drove by wondering what was back there because you can't really see back there. And so one day, it's one of those one-day stories. One day I drove in, I went, oh my gosh, what is this place? And it happened to be winter. It was December. And it was just this beautiful rolling hills. Well, come spring, after we'd already purchased it, I found out those were rolling piles of asphalt. Which made, that was great because we were able to trade some of that off. But so we were in need, to answer your question, for a capital project. We were in need of a facility for us.
I was more referring to,
Oh,
like,
I'm
you
sorry.
mentioned the improvements along Latah Creek. There are
Oh.
projects throughout the county, there are improvements in conservation.
Right.
I'm curious about, how they're selected and planned for.
So those go through what we call our water resource team, and they're evaluated. So it's based off, we really do look at, unfortunately, in the world of grants, and this is not a secret, it is the tail wagging the dog. So it's what's the source, what project do you have to fit? So we do water resource inventories routinely, and so we know kind of what's out there and what needs to be done, and we just we keep a list, a schedule of that, and then when the right funding comes along, we're able to plug it in and go, okay, we've got a project for that. So that's something that we meet every week to discuss. Those projects. Sometimes it can be a more of an emergency need, like we have a landowner that maybe they lost a significant amount of stream bank and due to a flooding situation. And it's like, are there emergency funds? Can we get in there sooner, for the good of the water column? So, yeah.
Councilmember Klingler, I think you had your hand up.
Yeah, I just want to say, great presentation. Your passion for what you do really comes through.
Oh, thank you.
I really appreciate that. Also, just curious about your education. First of all, I would love if you expanded it between 18 to 20, from 18 to 24, right?
Yeah.
To someone like me when I retire.
We have a program for you
Okay. Well,
called Volunteer.
that sounds like so much fun. And then do you go into like elementary school?
Oh, absolutely. We have a full-time environmental education coordinator, and she is in the schools, 100%, yes. And we also do a lot of work with homeschools. We bring them onto the property. We're going to have a huge event in May for 5th graders. It's called a forestry experience. So we're busing, we find funding to get kids onto our property, and we'll be doing a whole week of education with 5th graders. So yeah, big part of what we do.
Are you working with Liberty Creek over here right now, or do you know?
I can't say that I know that, but that is our education coordinator, and I know she is involved with Liberty Lake to some, I know for a fact that we have released some of our tanks into Liberty Lake, so.
I could use that. 'Cause,
okay.
yeah, my wife they did the waste management over there this last week. Kids absolutely loved it.
Yes.
They brought over a truck and stuff like that. And I think that's where you have a great beginning impact.
We're such believers in that. On our property, we do have a preschool. So it's for 12 months to 6 years old, and we have 84 children in it. So we've got kids on the property every day. They're in what they call a community-based, nature-inspired method. And so those kids are outside in the mud, trudging through the ponds, looking at trees, navigating the forests. It's phenomenal, yeah. But we are out in the public schools as well.
So I want to be part of that program when I get really old.
Okay, awesome, great.
My Alzheimer's days, I want to come in.
So come to our meeting in May, and I'd love to, and I mean this very seriously, and my 2 cohorts will tell you, I give tours all the time. I love to tell people about what we're doing and show them opportunities for our community, and I do appreciate the support. We are an unsung hero, and I don't just mean us, I mean conservation districts across the landscape. We've been so busy, and because we don't have stable funding, we haven't in the past had great ways to promote our work. And so often it goes unnoticed and not really talked about, but we are behind the scenes with the landowners, in step with them, to be able to get conservation on the ground. Yeah.
Is there anybody else? And if I ask the audience to not have the crosstalk because it interferes with what our people online can hear. Thank you.
Yeah, and as far as the public, please, those 2 meetings are open to you and we'd love to see you there. And if you've used any of our services, we'd appreciate a testimony from you.
Great. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
By the way, my daughter's a Liberty Lake business owner and resident, so.
Which, what business, anything?
She's just right down the street here. It's called Tent Brow Studio. Yep.
Thank you. All right. Next up, we have a proclamation for Arbor Day. I'll turn
Thank
it
you,
over to
Mayor.
Rochelle to start.
In 1872, the Nebraska Board of Agriculture established a special day to be set aside for the planting of trees. And this holiday, called Arbor Day, was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska. And Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world. And trees can be a solution to combating climate change by reducing the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, cutting heating and cooling costs, moderating the temperature, cleaning the air, producing life-giving oxygen, and providing habitat for wildlife. And trees are renewable resource, giving us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and countless other wood products. And trees in our city increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of business areas, and beautify our community. And trees, wherever they are planted, are a source of joy and spiritual renewal.
All right, before we move on, I'll entertain a motion from the council to approve the proclamation.
Madam Mayor, I move support of the proclamation.
Second.
The second by Councilmember Sears. Those in favor of supporting the proclamation, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, not hearing any. Now therefore, I, Chris Kaminskis, the mayor of the city of Liberty Lake, do hereby proclaim. We did this last year. There's no date on here. What is the official date of Arbor Day?
April 24th.
Okay. Give me just a second. Do hereby proclaim April 24th, 2026 as Arbor Day in the city of Liberty Lake. And I urge all citizens to celebrate Arbor Day and to support efforts to protect our trees and woodlands. And further, I urge all citizens to plant trees to gladden the heart and promote the well-being of this and future generations. All right, so I got that signed. And is there anybody here to receive it?
Our master arborist is here to receive it.
Dan? Where'd you go? Oh, there you are.
Step right
Prize.
You and thank you for all your hard work. It's been a great having you on staff. We look forward to lots of, okay.
I'm new to this.
What, every year?
That's all right.
Thank you.
We have trees, if anybody wants to celebrate.
Glad with my heart.
And I believe our tree planting date will be mentioned during the city administrator report for
Yep.
upcoming events. All right, next we have volunteer recognition.
All right, thank you, Mayor. So tonight we are here to recognize one volunteer, but before we get to that, I just feel necessary to point out that even throughout the things that have already happened tonight, you've heard the importance of volunteers in general. You've heard from a couple of them. As I scan the audience tonight, I see members of boards and commissions, and there are others who are volunteering by association indirectly with our service clubs that support what we do at the city. Jandy has a cadre of volunteers, and when you get her annual report, you see those hours reported there. And so all that to say, without those folks volunteering their time and energy, we would not be able to do nearly as much service provision as we are able to with their contributions. And so one that we want to specifically recognize tonight is Joko Kalis. Joko, you met initially at the January 20th meeting. He was already working for us, doing some legislative analysis and tracking bills that were going through the legislature. And so I'll ask Joko to come forward. And if you all remember, this year, the even number years are short sessions. So we were only in session for 60 days. But in those 60 days, over 1,500 bills were introduced. And so it's not just the bills that are introduced. They go through multiple amendments. There are engrossed versions. They cross houses. And so all of that has to be tracked and aligned with our specific legislative priorities. And Joko helped us keep all of that in frame, let us know when there were opportunities to testify before certain committees on some of our higher priority bills. And so without his work, we would not have been able to accomplish that. And so with that, I'd like to invite Joko forward so we can give him a letter of appreciation and take a photograph. So Joko, come on up.
Hey, and up next, we have our reports and inquiries. First up for city council reports and inquiries. Do we have anybody, any council members who'd like to make a report? Mayor Pro Tem and then Councilmember Ball.
Sure. The Friday, the 27th of March, I attended the AWC Council Leader Exchange in Ellensburg. This was a gathering of council presidents and mayor pro tems from across the state of Washington. It was a great opportunity to compare notes and to understand the challenges and the opportunities that the other cities have to deal with. That's always, I think, the most interesting exchange. There was the traditional introductions or reviews of parliamentary procedure and rules and procedures, which I'm going to try and exercise a little bit more of tonight. So look forward to helping the mayor in support of ensuring that all members are heard during speaking. I think that's an important action. In the exchange, what resonated, I offered was our upcoming town hall related to micro mobility or e-scooters. That suddenly generated, immediate attention from all across the room. So it's not just our community that's dealing with that as an issue. It's really all across the state. Following that, then on Tuesday, the 31st, I joined the Safe and Healthy Spokane Task Force in a walking tour of both Geiger County Corrections and the downtown jail. It was kind of interesting to sit in the admin building out of Geiger and the warden to look across the table and say, "So how many of you have been here before?" I try to keep that low key. But it was really an eye-opener to understand what actually our conditions are within our jails and to understand it gives you context. This was not the only event. In fact, the task force is trying to arrange for such events monthly. And if you would like to, as an elected, I would have a contact information for you to reach out to. I just think it's very valuable as your role in leadership to recognize how we deal with incarcerations throughout our county. So yeah, I would just highly recommend it for those who have the opportunity. Back there at the AWC event, one of the things I was kind of inspired by, City of Maple Valley is, well, tomorrow having a volunteer and service expo. Kind of a trade show style event in which all the service clubs throughout the community are invited to stand and table, so to speak, and to meet and greet and to network and to, try and engage with other people who potentially want to volunteer. There are many people in our midst who are looking for ways that they can get involved. And so to have such an event to be able to organize, I think could be pretty good. So we're looking for a couple of dates and I'm organizing with a lot of the clubs and service groups throughout our community. And I look forward to being able to put something like that on.
Yep.
So thanks.
Great. Well, I'm glad they finally put together something for mayors pro tem and vice mayors across the state. They hadn't had that before. And I've got the mayor's exchange coming up. And this one this year is actually focused. We have our mayor's exchange and then they've added another one for strong mayor. So it'll be interesting to have that. So I'm glad they're adding some more different ways for our councils to get some education. All right, Councilmember Ball.
It's been a long time since we all met, so I've been busy. I've got 3 separate reports and I'll try to get through this as quickly as possible, but it's all pretty cool stuff. March 24th through the 26th, I went through CERT training, which stands for Community Emergency Response Team. Contrary to what Spokane County Emergency Management will tell you, Spokane County is the only county in the state of Washington that does not have a CERT team. That absolutely floored me. And I verified this with Mayor Terry Cooper of Medical Lake, who had to guide her city through the horrendous Gray Fire in 2023. Her advice was cities should have at least $300,000 on hand, which will be needed in the first 5 days of an event. Liberty Lake also needs an emergency response person on staff, and that's my opinion, but I think it's worthy. CERT, if you're not familiar with it, I won't read this whole binder, don't worry. It's a program that is nationally supported, locally implemented, teaches people how to better prepare themselves for hazards that may affect their communities. CERT trains you in basic disaster response skills, such as team organization, disaster medical operations, fire safety, and light search and rescue. It was developed by the LAPD after they observed what happened in the disasters in Mexico and Japan in 1985. While untrained volunteers can be very effective in aiding others, the lack of training puts them at risk for injury or death. So that's why it's important to have this training. CERT volunteers who do not encounter a need in their immediate area, like if there's nothing going on here, they can travel to other disasters like Red Cross would, for example. At any rate, my instructor was a gentleman named Celso Rangel. He is the only teacher right now in the state. He's the state director of CERT. He's a veteran. He was a Delta Force in the Army. He saw combat. He got shot, really, in short, he is a very badass guy, but very kind and a great teacher. The other students in my class included several retired nurses, not a shock, several veterans. In fact, our own Mike Willis here of Liberty Lake was in the class with me. He's not here tonight. Anyway, it was really fun. A lot of curious citizens were involved too. But what's sad is and sad fun, 87% of CERT volunteers are over 60. We need some younger people. Other problems for us, besides not having a CERT team, and this is another one that I just couldn't believe, there's only one chainsaw team on this side of the Cascades. Now that might seem funny to you, chainsaw team, but it's very important in fire. Additionally, Washington is a no-clause state, which means you can't just, something's happening, jump in there. You have to have the knowledge and equipment. You have to be organized. This class, what I can say, it was a lot in 72 hours. We learned it was 3 days, proper use of a fire extinguisher. I know now how to put a splint on an injured person, how to get them on a stretcher, open their airway, just basic stuff. In the immediate aftermath of a disaster, needs are often greater than what professional emergency personnel can provide. I mean, you're not going to have, a Spokane Valley Fire Department at your door immediately. That's where we become a vital link in the emergency service chain. CERT volunteers are not equipped or trained to respond to acts of terrorism, but it's the old adage, if you see something, say something. At any rate, I'm almost done here. Celso is putting together a team for Spokane County. They need 30 people. He goes all over the state doing this training. And he's the only one. So he talked me into learning to become a trainer, which I'm doing next week. Why he has so much confidence in me is a mystery, because during our first final disaster simulation, where he made me a team leader, 2 people on my team died. On my watch. I apologize.
Numbers.
Afterwards.
We revisit that splint training.
Huh? Yeah. No, it was the screaming woman. Oh my God, she freaked me out. She was an actor, Oh, my hips, my baby, where's my baby? And I just lost it. She was so loud. Anyway, there will be no basic training until fall for obvious reasons, because it's fire season in the summer and they're busy. One of the last things he said, and this was profound, you guys are a problem, meaning the county and elected leaders over here that don't seem to get it. That's because every time there's a fire, he has to pull from his teams on the other side of the state to come over here and help us. So we really need this. I strongly urge anyone interested to take the next training, most likely in the fall, or at least spread the word. It's just a matter of time before we get hit with something, most likely a fire. But not if, but when. Okay, so that was my CERT training. Now, my second report, I went to the, God, what was it called? The Spokane River Forum. The keynote speaker was Lisa Seals with the Deschutes River Conservancy. Her presentation was interesting because the Deschutes River Basin is very similar to ours. But I'll skip through some of this, but one of the speakers, John Portello, he's an expert in quantitative hydrology and numerical modeling. And he wasn't surprised when the Spokane River went dry last summer. It gets a little hard to describe this, but he said the flow from the dam was normal, the Post Falls Dam. But what happened is from the dam to Sullivan Road, most of the aquifer is 50 to 100 feet below the riverbed. But in the area that went dry, the riverbed elevation drops, and so it intersects with the aquifer. So the river's underground. So really, it wasn't dry. It was just there under the water. He said the usage by customers is not the reason it went dry, rather climate change. Less snowpack, the natural system, all have to do with it. I know this is contrary to what the gal from the Spokane River Keepers told us, and I can't address that. But Mr. Porcello had only good things to say about Liberty Lake sewer and water. He's very impressed, and he said that Jeremy Jenkins with Liberty Lake Water and Sewer and Water is the president of the Spokane Aquifer Joint Board, and he's real impressed with them. And this was a very well-attended event, very well-attended. And just a few things, these are just some headlines, recent headlines. Washington declares 4th drought emergency in a row. And keep these in your mind. Earth has entered water bankruptcy, UN says. So I'm just, kind of passionate about these things. Lastly, I went to the Regional Council of Governments gig. I thought you'd be there.
I was supposed to, we've gone through some things at work. I couldn't get away.
Oh, okay. So Mary, formerly CUNY Brooks, was kind of the head person, taking care of all the introducing the speakers and so forth. But you kind of,
I missed out. I wasn't able to attend.
The thing
Mhm.
the same day, and I wish I'd known. But anyway, it was well attended too.
It
There was a
always
lot of various council members there from Spokane, the Valley. Here, well, no, I was it for us. But
Thank you.
yeah, it was interesting. So more about that, but yeah, they really want to get this thing going for the safe and healthy Spokane, and it might involve another prison, a new prison, and that could be coming up again for a ballot item. So anyway, thank you.
Thank you.
I've been busy.
All right, do we have any other council reports? Okay, next up, mayor's report. Just again, let's kind of go through the litany of what's coming up. There are regular Spokane County elected officials meeting. We're knee deep into GMA things still. Obviously, that will continue to go through all the comp plans. GSI Regional Advocacy Board meeting is coming up this week. There's a ribbon cutting for Ziply Fiber, though they don't have an office here. They're having a little get together this Thursday, I believe it is, at Fieldhouse Pizza, just to say welcome to all the work they're doing around. There's also Thursday's packed with things for the city. The multi-care elected officials listening session. I have not seen the full agenda, so it'll be interesting. I'm hoping my timing works out that I can attend that. We are meeting with Spokane Valley here in another week or so to revisit our progress on the joint sub-area plan. So Mark's been working hard, and Amy and the whole staff have been working hard with Spokane Valley. So we're getting together on where we are in that, looking at most likely asking for an increase in the Harvard Road mitigation fee or impact fees. We have the Arbor Day plantings coming up, and I'll reserve that for Mark with the date. I'm on the AWC nominating committee for the upcoming board of directors. So we have that meeting coming up to review the applicants. And then as usual, the last Wednesday of the month, the Greater Spokane Valley Chamber of Commerce board meeting. And the new director actually starts, I don't know if you guys have seen that press release, but she starts here the beginning of May. So looking forward to meeting her. So that's a lot. There's more coming. But that's enough since we only have a meeting next week. So that's it for me. City Administrator report.
Right, thank you, Mayor. As Shane is pulling up the report for you to see, the first item on there that you will see when it pops up is tomorrow is tax day. So get your returns filed.
And make sure you get your PF1s into
Yes.
DC.
Very important. Beyond that, we have a couple of things coming up. The mayor mentioned, we do have a tree planting workshop. This is kind of a pre-Arbor Day event. I mentioned this because Dan is no longer here, but this is an event that requires registration. I believe that we still have slots open. And so if you're interested in going out and learning how to plant trees properly, where they go, what species fit with what climates, depths, all of that, Dan will be teaching all of that at this tree planting workshop on the 18th, which is Saturday at Pavilion Park from 10 a.m. To 12 p.m. We don't have it on this calendar, but beyond that, we'll have another opportunity to brief everyone at next week's meeting. But we will be doing our annual Arbor Day tree planting out at Pavilion Park on the 24th. And so look for some additional information on that. I'll brief that next week and we'll have it on our socials and website as well. And then the following Saturday, April 25th, is our annual Clean, Green, and Bulky Waste Cleanup event that is sponsored by WM. This is for Liberty Lake residents who are subscribers to the garbage and recycle services with WM. They would have mailed a coupon to you in your bill at some point over the last quarter. That coupon is required to enter, and it's got all of the details on it about what you can bring, what you can't bring. If you have too much of one thing, they will have Goodwill on site. They can take some stuff there, but it's got all of the details on there. And then if you have questions beyond that, residents can call either WM or they can call the city, and we can get you set up with answering any questions that you may have about that event. Beyond that, Tuesday, April 28th, we've got the community town hall that was mentioned previously. We will be talking specifically about e-bikes, motorized scooters, and golf carts. And so we're expecting a large turnout for that. That's going to be over at Trailhead from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. And then finally, we have a safety and resilience fair. This is associated with our comprehensive plan development. This will be an event, again, that is over in Trailhead in the Rotary Room. The Spokane Valley Fire Department will be there. Our community development staff will be there. Avista will be there, and some others to help kind of build some more awareness. And you heard some of that from the Conservation District earlier. We'll be talking about fire resiliency and just awareness and safety in a variety of aspects. That is going to be 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. on Thursday, April 30th. Before we move on to the reports, are there any questions about those reminders before we move on? All right, and with that, we've got a couple of employee recognition items that we want to bring before you. And the first one, I'm going to invite Deputy Chief Morgan up to the podium. He's got something to share with you about our school resource officer. Darren, take it away.
Oh, thank you, Mark. Mayor, council members, it's a pleasure to be here tonight. So one of our supervisors had the opportunity to present an award to our WACOPS, which is the union that represents our guild. And in that, I'm just going to read the commendation and what they wrote back. And it's a combination of excellence of service for Officer David Howard. And to be honest, David is not here tonight because he's still working on an injury, and he should be back in tomorrow. For those of you who aren't aware, he actually tore his bicep, and he should be coming back in tomorrow, so he should be good to go. But that's why he's not here today.
And that's a big bicep.
It is a big bicep. He is a large man. I'm not even going to deny that. But they wrote on behalf of the Washington Council of Police and Sheriff's Boards of Directors, it is an honor to recognize you with this letter of commendation. This recognition comes the following with your nomination by your supervisor, reflecting the respect and appreciation you have earned through your service. Your impact within your agency and community is far-reaching. Since joining the Liberty Lake Police Department, you have brought a high level of skill and professionalism to your role, strengthening your department through your expertise in firearms, defensive tactics instructions, and your willingness to share that knowledge has directly contributed to the preparedness of those you serve alongside. In your role as a school resource officer, you demonstrated the influence of law enforcement can have beyond traditional duties. At Ridgeline High School, you have become a trusted and approachable presence for the students and staff alike. We learned of the that you have built and the students seek your guidance and mentorships, which speaks to the character and your ability to connect with others in a meaningful way. Your involvement in the track and field coach involvement, your involvement as a track and field coach, I don't know why it says involvement twice, sorry, with the Police Activities League further reflects your commitment to investing in the lives of our young people. We applaud your dedication to foster positive relations between the law enforcement and the next generation. On the behalf of WACOPS, we recommend you for this professionalism and your leadership and your continued service to others. Signed by the President, Chris Tracy, Awards Committee Chair, Tyrena Rose, and Executive Director, Teresa Taylor. I just wanted to share that. Thank you.
Thanks, Darren. A second item I'd like to share with you, and I'm going to invite Jandy to come up to the podium, and I'll let her explain some of the things that that she went through with respect to this, but I'm going to give you a little bit of a description. This is our second year of being able to put one of our executive team members through the Professional Development Academy's high performing leaders course. So this is a 12-week course that's broken down into 4 modules, and they go over things like leadership mindset and positive engagement, leading effective change, communication and collaboration, and then leading high-performing teams. One of the, I think, benefits beyond just the coursework itself is the opportunity to be placed in a cohort of peers from around the country that are in similar lines of work. And I'll let Jandy address some of what that cohort worked on throughout the program. But this is part of our broader commitment, which you'll hear more about next week. We'll give you a briefing on some other things that we're thinking about to invest in our folks from a leadership development perspective. And so last year, Jen Camp went through this program. This year, Jandy went through the program, and we would expect to be able to put someone through on an annual basis going forward. And so, Jandy, if you'd like to provide some additional comments and just maybe describe the cohort and some of the folks that you were able to work with, be our guest.
Good evening, Council. Like Mark said, I had an opportunity to do the High Performance Leadership Academy. I started it in January. It's a 10-week program. It ended up being about 4 to 6 hours of work a week. So it is pretty intense. I found it incredibly valuable. I was in a cohort with other people who were in city government. And all of the members of my cohort were in the kind of Pacific Northwest, west part of the United States. So it was really helpful to be able to, we would meet weekly and have a discussion for about an hour. I had about 8 other people in my cohort, so it was small groups, and we had different questions and discussions that we were able to go through each week. It's really valuable to hear how other cities might be managing things, what struggles people are having, what successes people are having. It was just, I found it incredibly valuable versus just, looking at a screen. Watching videos and answering questions like that is valuable, but I find the most value out of being able to interact and connect with other people in my cohort. So it was incredibly valuable and kind of forces you to look at your leadership style, what things you're doing well, what things you can improve on, and just kind of hone in on your journey as a leader. So it was incredibly valuable, and I would recommend it to anyone who's interested in doing the program. So thank you.
Congratulations.
And with that, let's congratulate Jandy.
Thanks.
And I believe, Mayor, that concludes my report.
Okay, awesome. All right, next up, the Community Engagement Commission. Robin, welcome.
Everybody's taller than me up here, so let me get this resituated. Good evening, Mayor and council members. So I'm here on the behalf of the community engagement tonight, give a report. So let's, do you have a PowerPoint, Shane? Can you bring that up? I'm going to move backwards a little bit, reminding February 15th, City Council requested community engagement that you develop a plan or something that engages the community for a project, and it's really the initiative. It's titled City Logo Refresh. So with that, what you'll see is what we did was a plan. So if we can go to the next screen. Now, this is a table of contents. Okay. So Engagement Commission, Community Engagement Commission worked on, this is just a table of contents because it is about a 5 or 6 page plan. So we're going to go, we worked on the purpose of the engagement, realizing that we had some defects in the reproduction of this digital problem with the logo, and realizing something needs to be done, goals and objectives of the plan. And then the biggest chunk on here was the engagement campaign, and we broke it up into 5 different phases. Phase 1 was the collection of data. Now, these are approximate times, 4 to 6 weeks. Phase 2, concept development, 6 to 8 weeks. Phase 3, community review of the concepts, 3 to 4 weeks. Phase 4, final approval, 4 to 6 weeks. And then phase 5, public rollout and celebration, 2 to 4 weeks. That could be optional, depending on what the council would want to see. So with that, then, looking at there's always going to be a communication strategy component that's going to be integrated with that. And we hope that we can bring some good metrics for success, call it aspirational metrics for success. And that's within hopes of getting a diverse group, inclusive, and broad spectrum of what people think. Aspirational. So what are the next steps? And that'll be the next slide. So we're looking at starting the communication outreach efforts in May. Social media, splash, contacting other organizations, presenting the city logo refresh to the local organizations, selecting the citizen logo committee. And so we're still sort of need to see how we interject that group of people, and looking at trying to get another broad spectrum of that so we get an idea. Start the communication plan. Devise a strategy regarding public participation for gathering local survey data. And then building a plan then to also be at the events, the farmers market. We have the 4th of July. We have the Touch a Truck, and looking at how many events incorporated along with how many organizations too. Interview potential consultants, and then look at the plan and design a town hall meeting. Now, we developed this because of some of the interaction and comments that were made at the city council meeting. So we could only go by that. It was, it was like a brainstorming session between everybody here. So that's what we went off from and tried to work from that point. So what are the takeaways? Next slide, please. Okay. If we want, just looking at a timeline and looking at a reasonable timeline, if we would like to have the final logo by fall, September, we worked backwards and thought probably the date for what we call the launch date / kickoff for this would be sometime in the May 2026. And what you're going to have is a real project management, what I call the spreadsheet or the to-do list. And several things are going to probably be concurrently happening among all of us with the community engagement, community citizen committee happening. And there's going to be continued communication with the public during this project timeframe. And then there'll be certain elements depending on timing, because it's the summer, that may or may not delay the process, such as, and I just gave example of a town hall meeting, just because it's summertime and trying to get as many people as we can there interested. Keeping costs manageable. Heard that quite often in the talk and then at the dais. And then we realize that this offers the city a really great opportunity. So with that, next slide is, do you have any questions or comments?
You guys don't mind, can we go back to the next step slide? I've got a couple questions, then I'll hit the council up. I try
Okay,
not to go.
I may not be able to answer, but I'll
That's
try.
okay. That's okay. So, and 100% appreciate all the work that went into this. It's a lot of work, a lot of stuff coming up. So I've got a couple questions. I thought we had tossed around trying to have something to present to the public on the 4th of July. I don't know where the September, October came from. So that's one question. Second one is potential consultants. What are you looking at for consultants? Because I thought we had discussed hiring somebody to do the final, the final, this is the logo that we can use, but not necessarily a design person. Are you guys thinking of hiring somebody for design or just the final presentable, usable product?
Well, I think it's good that you're, explaining that a little bit more in detail. I don't know if we've gotten that far. We'll have our CEC meeting tomorrow.
Okay.
And then we can better now explore off of some comments that we received tonight
Yeah.
on how best to approach this.
Yeah, because
And-
part of the reason for not hiring, a consultant to actually do the design and do all that stuff was to keep that cost down. If we're looking at a refresh, trying to keep some of the major elements, but making it more modern, that's where we were kind of hoping to keep the cost down and just hire somebody to do the final files that we could use. At least that's what I heard from the discussion. Please, raise your hand. I'll put you on the next comments if I'm wrong, but yeah, this seems like a lot. And again, 100% appreciate all the work that's gone into this. I'm just wondering if we can scale it back so that it's not as much work for you guys. And I think if we present too many opportunities and too many, obviously public engagement is key, but we
Mhm.
also don't want to overdo it as well, because I think that could have the potential of confusing everything. We'll have too many options out there. And we saw what it created on social media the day after the meeting. Yeah, I think there's maybe a happy medium somewhere. Those are just my thoughts and questions based on the previous discussion. I'll turn it over to anybody from the council who wants to ask a question or comment. Councilmember Severs,
I don't know who to ask this to, but
can you get closer to your
I
mic?
don't know who to ask this to. Is this budgeted? Is this, or what is the budget on this?
Yeah, what do we have in there, Mark? I forgot.
There's nothing budgeted specifically for this work, but all of the things that you're seeing here, save for any consultant work that we really haven't scoped out, would be done by volunteers on either the Community Engagement Commission or some kind of focus group that would talk about logo elements.
So do we have any sort of estimate on what it's going to cost?
In terms of design work? And it's really difficult to say. I mean, I think a lot of that depends on whether the group, through its community engagement efforts, brings back a more drastic redesign versus a simple redesign. But I would say somewhere in the neighborhood of $4,000 to $5,000, I would expect.
Pretty reasonable, yeah. Okay, second question is, I'm not super clear on where are these designs coming from?
Well, the way it was projected, or our thoughts, was it would come from the comments that people see for the refresh in the current design that could be improved, enhanced, made potentially better in some ways, and then try and go from their comments and looking at the various themes, and then trying to refresh that.
Okay, thank you.
This is an outline. And so the real logistics of each step has not been formally went through on the CEC. Probably we thought it was better to bring this up now to everybody to see on the outline, and if there was any type of tweaks that we need to make, and if there was any misinterpretations that were made. Most definitely, if we were going to show and explore, I guess, and show this in July, then possibly it would be, a lot of things would be shortened. And it's an option.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you.
Councilmember Kurtz?
Yeah, I remember the July is like the launch date for that. I think that's what we talked about before. And somebody can correct me if I'm not remembering this correctly either, but I think it was a light refresh to honor the history and the legacy, but just an update. And I guess my assumption was that there was sort of like a sourcing of who might be interested in doing those designs, them coming up with something, and then the community voting on that versus kind of how you've laid it out in the design, this up here, where we're asking for the community input first and then getting a design and then getting more community input. Because I love community input, but I don't know if we'll meet our timeline that we've talked about unless that needs to be adjusted by the council. So that's just what I recall. And if anybody else recalls anything different, please tell me.
Oh,
Councilmember Ball?
yeah, that's what I recall too, was that the whole purpose was to have it done by the 25th anniversary / 250th, anniversary. So.
Mayor Pro Tem?
If I could suggest, perhaps if a collection, maybe just a handful, maybe say 5, concepts could be arrived at and then somehow brought through a down select procedure process. A committee involved to support the work could be able to consider and then down select to, one that would be favored. Having choices to be able to select from, I think would really facilitate it and allow people to talk about what reflects and maybe doesn't as much reflect what had been discussed. So yeah, come up with a set and then get it down to the one.
I think we can do that.
Yeah, because I think asking for, like, to Councilmember Kurtz's point, asking for too much input up front, we're going to end up with an analysis paralysis and not knowing what to do and getting stuck. I think to Mayor Pro Tem's point, if we, whatever the process is, we push forward 4 or 5, whatever that number is, say here we are, and get the input on those 4 or 5, whatever it is. Before we get back to number 2, go ahead, Councilmember Klingler.
I'm just curious, do we know or have even an inkling about how long it would take them to take the finalized logo and render it into files that are digitized and usable? Have we done that before?
That wouldn't take long at all. There would be a procurement process that would have to take place, but the actual rendering would be, I don't know, a couple of days.
Yeah. And based on our estimates, it's not something we would have to go out for an RFP or anything. It would get some, our 3 quotes and go from there.
Yeah, I'm sure you can find that locally pretty easy.
Okay.
If we can hear from Fisher and.
Yeah, I will. Have anything before we go on to the next round?
I do. I think it's imperative that there be a short synopsis of the history of that logo and why it is what it is. Because a lot, so many people are so new here, they have no clue where it came from, why it is the way it is, what it represents. Like Pavilion Park was the only park we had. So I think that's critically important to the history of that it represents.
Thank you. And Councilmember Darrow, before we go on. You can skip too, but I want to make sure everybody has a chance.
No, I really appreciate the work that you've done, Robin. And I think a lot of times it is hard for the Community Engagement Commission to know exactly what their job is, even if we're clear about it, because we often throw things to them and say, oh, you figure that out a little bit. So I really appreciate you coming to us with this, and then we can say, oh, no, that's what we weren't even thinking in the first place. I think even just the mention of a town hall to me is a lot. There are a few opportunities for events prior to our deadlines that we can have some visual representation. the library is maybe a good example or a bad example, but we had some different events where things were visually accessible and people were on hand to answer questions, and also a little bullet point information sheet to go along with that. For example, the history of the logo, what the projected budget would be, so that we can answer some of these questions instead of them just circling around social media ad infinitum. So that's what I've got. Thanks.
All right, thanks. All right, now everybody's had a chance. Councilmember Severs.
I'm just going to reference the Liberty Lake flag project and how that filtered from a series of artists and broke it down to what their final project was. If there's a way to reference how that went, I think that was
This is your source of all the info
I
right here.
sure know that, but our Mayor Pro Tem really led the charge on that completely. So maybe.
I'll talk to the
maybe
mayor.
Pro Tem.
Well, I mean, to recount the action.
Consult, yeah.
I, when I sought to create a flag that represented the community, wanted to go to the community to collect ideas. And so I conceived of, I'll just call it a contest. Given a collection of best practices or what it is that makes something great in vexillologic, it's actually got a name, vexillologic. Anyway, I went out to identify how would you run such a contest and then award such a winner. Well, it's kind of hard. City can't give away money. So I had to identify a nonprofit which could be used to for me to do fundraising for the purposes of distribution, which was the Spokane Valley Arts Council. And then I went out to all the elementary schools and all the middle schools and all the high schools, and went out to the community and said, here are some thoughts and here are some ideas. And I got this huge stack, especially from the elementaries. That was so cool. Hundreds. It was great. And then I organized a small clutch of community leaders to sort of walk and rate and work and just, down select to what was considered. And we were able to select one and then reward one person. I think it was like, I don't know, $300 or something as recognition for that. So, but what it did was allow real participation. And that's what I really sought most, is to really allow anyone with a thought or an idea of what this could be to step forward and maybe get a prize.
So who did design it?
A member of our community, and I'm sorry, the name escapes me right now. But and I think she did some other work for the city as well. Later, there were some other pieces I think that it may have come forward, an image or two related to Liberty Lake Together.
Oh, okay, it was, if that's the case, it was Jamie Morrow.
Yeah.
So I have a question.
Sure.
Is you would like to have the deadline date in July at that? Okay, so that'll help because that's a hard, fast date.
Yeah, we'd like to unveil it. Maybe we may not have the
Sure.
files by then, but maybe we can unveil it.
Okay,
in a
because
manner
that does change it.
Yeah.
If,
I wouldn't expect any changes, but
or I mean, as far as the planning
the plan, yeah.
and everything.
Yeah.
So that then we can talk about that then at tomorrow's meeting on how best then to approach that.
Okay, thank you. Oh, go ahead, Councilmember Kurtz.
Listening to Mayor Pro Tem talk, I mean, I'm wondering if, can it be like a call to artists, similar to what we do with art? I mean, I don't know the mechanics of it, but it sounds like there was some sort of call for people to contribute something in a contest. And I don't, again, know the logistics of a contest, but I think that's kind of what we were talking about before, is somebody from the community being able to design something, and for knowing the history and the light refresh and what we were looking for, and having it be a community driven product that we're able to use, for the next 25 years.
Yeah, 25 years. And that's sort of where that, if we can move back, or no, there it is, just interviewing potential, I should say people or public or something. That's where that would probably come in at.
And I wonder if it's so much as interviewing them or having them submit something. They know what it is we're looking for and they come up with something, and there's your 5 things to draw down and have people vote on it. I think that's what I'm wondering.
Put together the list of requirements, like you said, some history. This is the goal.
And then here's your deadline by which you submit your art,
Right.
and then there'll be some community engagement to from the community to pick which one they like.
Okay, yeah, I think that, we
Parks
can,
and Arts Commission could assist with that.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I think it, at any rate, to get, I think, get something by that July date of when we would, we probably should have started like last month, but we're still gonna have to start in May. You know, something that, because then we have May and June, and then by July, you're doing the celebration of, this is what we come up with.
Councilmember Darrow.
I don't know what the answer is, but I feel like already I see an issue if we're just doing a light refresh, or we're calling something a refresh and we're also asking for a call to artists and things like that. I already see that we're having an issue with what we're receiving. So I think there needs to be some clarity who that comes from. I'm not sure about what that is. And maybe the input isn't art, maybe it's what do you think is missing, and it's a verbal question or something along those lines. I'm not sure that that's the answer either, but I'm just saying a stack of different images, if it's to replace it, but it's a refresh in spirit, or is it a refresh to the actual image? I think that needs to be addressed. Otherwise, we're going to be getting exactly what I think the problem was in the first place, which is too much in the wrong direction.
If I can provide some perspective, and maybe maybe the communication of this needs to be tweaked a bit, but the combination of process that Mayor Pro Tem Dunn described and what Councilmember Darrow just described is I think working towards this concept of putting a group together. Whatever you call the group doesn't matter. And that group's job is to set the parameters. And what that means is that you go through a process. If the objective is a light refresh, you ask questions of the community like, do you like this color palette? Would you prefer to replace this color with that color? What elements of this logo do you prefer to keep? What other elements that aren't here would you prefer to add? Those kinds of things. And then when you have that consensus, then you can start looking at conceptual things to put into image that you can rate. And so I think that was the objective that Robin was describing. And so if we need to retweak the communication of what that process entails, we can I think you can easily do that. But I think getting some input as to what about the current logo, to Councilmember Fisher's point, if we hear from 85% of the people that don't touch it, we don't think it should be touched. If that's the input, that's important, that's valuable insight to be able to take into whatever the next step is. But if we hear from people that, and to your earlier point, when the logo was first established, there were something like 3,100 residents there. And in our next update from the OFM, we're expecting to have crested 15,000. So we have now 12,000 people who weren't here then, who are here now, that may have a different opinion and vision of what the logo represents. And so getting that feedback, I think, is what that first step is designed to do before we get to concepts.
Yeah, so we know if we're going the correct direction.
Thanks, Mark.
Yep. Okay, all right, any other comments? All right, thank you.
Thanks.
All right, next up, workshops. 20-year capital facilities plan. You have 2 minutes, Ben. Kidding.
Let's always put the shorter person in front too. No offense, Robert.
We need to get the lift on the podium like some of us have on our desks.
I think I get to sit at the new city hall. Made that a point. I know Shane's bringing up the slides. So this is something that we've been working on for probably the last couple months. We've been working on it for much longer than that, as some folks can attest. But we've been kind of putting it all together over the last 2 months so that we can share it with you. And really, the point of putting together a 20-year, well, I didn't know I did that fancy thing with the title, is for inclusion in the comprehensive master plan. So that's we think we'll probably hit build out right around 2046. So this is kind of a companion piece to that overall comprehensive master plan. We're doing it now so that we can get it done in time to include in that comprehensive master plan. And before I get started, this is a snapshot in time of the bona fide needs of the city, as we have seen with all these master plans that have been put together. So this is a living document. I just want to say that. And so there's things that aren't on here that could be put on here 5 to 10. It's just the nature of a 20-year plan. You just can't forecast that far. We did our best, and this is what we think that we will need over the next 20 years, but that is subject to change, obviously, as things can change a lot in the 20 years as can be seen in the last 25 years of the city. So next slide, please. So the purpose of this is really to recommend a citywide vision that will indeed maximize public benefits. We also want to assess fiscal capacity. I'm going to throw a lot of numbers at you, and you've got the backup information, and we've got another session scheduled with Kyle next week to kind of go over a little bit of that. But giving you a long-term financial picture of what the city needs, we think is important, and it also aligns us with the strategic plan goal number 4. So that's really why we put this together. And like I said, the comprehensive master plan, this is really a very important companion document to that overall plan. All right, next slide. So this is the definition from the Department of Commerce for a capital facility project. So really it's anything that exceeds 13 years. Usually it requires an involvement in an architect or an engineer. We've gone a little step for quite a few steps further with this capital facilities plan. We've aligned it with more how we've typically done capital facilities plans. So you see things like equipment and trees and all sorts of categories and classifications that we've included as well. Just kind of expand on that definition. So we kind of have that full picture of what our needs will be over the next couple of decades. Next slide. So I know Mark, and as mentioned, with the help of volunteers, everybody above that line was a volunteer for Thursday afternoons at the library. We met, I think, 5 or 6 times over roughly the month of February and first part of March to put this plan together. We had from every commission, the board of directors, as well as several ad hoc members that provided staff with a lot of valuable input, especially when it comes to validating requirements and prioritizing those requirements. So like I said, we've done a lot of data collection and analysis over the last few years. They really helped us look at that from a different lens as non-staff members to see how it will best support the community. And we really would like to continue that after this and have that this is a enduring steering group as we put together our annual 6-year plans, because the recommendations, the prioritization they provided was invaluable to put this plan together. So just wanted to bring that up. Next slide. All right, so here's when all the numbers start. And I apologize, but I really like numbers. So these are all the capital classifications that we put together. Like I said, this is an expansion of the Department of Commerce definition. And these are ranked in order of priority from the committee, in order of precedence. So you can see that streets is number 1. I'm all about that. That's my baby. And then what we've really done is put together, that 20-year overall figure, and just a couple of notes on this with the asterisks below. One thing, this is in 2026 dollars, so there's no inflation adjustment to this. So that will be needed to, as we move forward, that'll be required. It doesn't consider any grant funding. That wasn't part of this process. So any grants received would obviously reduce that number in kind with the grant proposed. We've got a lot of street grants kind of already set for 27, 28, and we'll continue to work on those, but doesn't include any of that. And all the ones with that one little asterisk, that's where we've had, whether it's a master plan study done, a network analysis. We're still in the process of wrapping up the Parks Master Plan, which you'll hear from Jen here, I believe, the first meeting of May, as well as the Sidewalk Master Plan. But lots of data heavy, as Lynn pointed out during her public comment, that we can help build these. And so some of these aren't. We don't have a fleet plan yet. That's something that I plan on working on over the next little while. Where we didn't have that large data set, we kind of fell back to annual allocations for things like replacing street trees, pedestrian crossing, things like that. Public art's really hard to forecast over the next 20 years. Right now, we're really into goats. We could be into something very different over the next year. So what Jen has done with public art is kind of taken what we're looking at right now and kind of, extrapolating that over the next 20 years. Slow increases over time as maintenance needs increase, things like that. So, all right. So that is
just on the when you say that inflation will need to be factored in. Would that ever get factored in on this document, or just for financial planning purposes?
For financial planning purposes, I think we've got to do that. In the 6-year plan, inflation is taken into account. On the 20-year plan, just to make sure we're comparing apples to apples. We haven't done it. So I think it will more likely stay that way. As we do updates, it'll update to that. We do this every 5 years. It'll be 2031.
I might bring that question back up on slide 25.
Okay.
So, yeah. Just wanted to point that out.
Right, slide 25 is
the annual.
Oh, okay. That one.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah. That's my favorite one, actually.
Yeah.
Next slide, please.
Mine too.
Yeah. So that previous slide showed it by classification. We also tried to assign current funding streams to those particular projects. So you can see, a considerable general fund commitment, even more for special projects. So REIT 2 is mostly the main street projects, as well as the streets and streets capital. So those all combined to about 56. There's a few things that move in and out. One of the ones I want to talk about more is the unknown one at the bottom. So that captures a lot of those things that we don't already have, like a library or a new park, things that we are projected growth projects that we think we're going to need based on analysis that's been done in the past. A lot of the traffic control measures that were identified in the network analysis, that's a big chunk of that as well. Because as we grow, we're going to need a few more signals, a few more roundabouts. Country Vista is going to get a little busier, things like that. So right now, those are things that we're going to talk about a little more next week. And those are things that future councils are going to have to kind of figure out how we want to do those. All right, next slide. So I think next we're going to kind of go through, and what I'm showing, just for those at home, this is really the iceberg of the data that we collected to do this project. I forwarded out all the Excel files so that council could see those. I can't remember how many line items we used, but I think it's close to 1,000 different projects that were included in this. So we're just kind of really showing the highlights for each functional class. So I won't go too in depth with streets because this really is a lot very similar to the pavement master plan that we've already looked at over the last few weeks. But just to identify the major projects, where the fund sources come from, and then the 20-year estimated cost. And then if I've got a condition index where we do for streets, I've included that as well. And then some of the things that we've got 55 lane miles within the city that we'll maintain. That'll go up a little bit as the River District finishes up with Toledo Station, things like that. For the most part, those kind of stay the same over the time frame. There's not a lot of growth when it comes to streets, for instance. All right, next slide. I think I'm over 3 minutes. I apologize, Mary. So for pedestrian and bicycles, that's our sidewalks, trails, pathways. We have 75 miles of those. We do have a condition index because we did do a analysis last summer. At the same time, we're doing the streets. This is one that we're going to talk about more and more over the next few weeks because we have been working on this. Kind of goes into the sidewalk master plan discussion, the previous discussions we've had with residential sidewalk repairs. So that's left unfunded in that slide that shows the fund sources. That's included in that one. What is included in the fund sources is the things that we're already doing, whether that's ADA compliance with our pedestrian crossing allocations, bike lane updates, things like that. So that's included in one fund, but the unknown is the sidewalk plan.
So sidewalks are in the unknown, the 24%?
Yes, ma'am. Next slide. So traffic control is another, we do have some and other fund sources, things like traffic cameras, those were included in some of the smaller projects that were identified in network analysis. We've kind of identified those to take care of the streets fund. It's the larger projects, the new signals, the new roundabouts that are currently considered unknown funding sources. Those are projected growth projects that were identified during the network analysis period. And so this really, it comes out to 2 additional signals, 1 additional roundabout, and then 1 roundabout expansion, which is the one Harvard, and it's the Harvard Mission roundabout that's recommended to change to a 2-lane roundabout based on a network analysis in about 15 to 20 years. So facilities, we currently have 8 facilities on 4 sites. Our overall facility footprint is roughly 63,000 square feet. This does include Legacy Church because that was a city-owned facility, so it's included in the number. You're not gonna see City Hall on here because we're hoping to finish that in 2026, currently. So that one isn't included in the overall number. We do have a little bit of, on the 6-year CFP, you did see a little bit of, in 27, that's a lot of furniture and things like that, AV. So there's a cost in 27, but we didn't include it as part of the 20-year plan. I know Craig mentioned the size of the library. That size was picked because it came from a study. It's what we know right now. Obviously, as I've said, that can change. This is a living document. So that's kind of how we picked sizes and costs and things like that based on documents that we have that have been approved by council. So all of these came from the facility master plan for the most part. Excellent. So parks, obviously, we're in the middle of a parks master plan. A lot of effort ongoing here. Includes our 3 parks plus the Arboretum. One of the recommendations that you'll see from the parks master plan as the city grows is we'll need a 4th additional park. That's one of the unknown when it comes to funding. That's the additional park. So they also did some surveys where, like, the prioritization survey results. I just showed you the top 5. These are the things that people have asked for the most. Those are all included in the plan. And then there's some unfunded projects down there at the bottom, like I said, the future park, the expansion of Town Square Park, as well as the additional splash pads in different parks, things like that. But you'll get a little bit more detail from Jen here in a few weeks. All right, slides. We're almost done, I promise. So equipment's one of those ones we haven't done like any study or anything like that. A lot of it's been in-house. We've identified really replacement cycles for things like police vehicles and pickup trucks and lawnmowers and things like that. So it really comes down to police are a large portion of this, about 50%, because police vehicles just don't last 15 years like a pickup truck in Public Works, because we put 5,000 miles a year roughly on a Public Works truck, whereas Darren could say that's probably puts 3 times to 4 times more miles on their vehicles than we do. So the refresh rate is basically double when it comes to a police vehicle. Slide. So street trees, that was another one where we used an allocation method. Right now in the CFP, we have $20,000 a year allocated for street trees. Dan has spent about half that already on a roughly. We've got 50 trees. He's planted 7 so far. He's going to plant another 5 to 10 on Saturday and another couple on Earth Day. And so he's got some other plans. We've got a couple. The Country Vista Multer project is kind of in progress. He's going to do that. And then obviously when we redo Sprague, we'll be replanting an additional 75 trees there. There were 51 before, so we'll be able to cover a little bit farther down the road with that pretty easily. With that $20,000 seems to be a pretty good number to estimate from and for future needs. Now a lot of that's replacing trees because these trees aren't going to live forever, and so that includes basically we could refresh about 100 trees a year, $20,000 with inflation. Over that. All right, then we have stormwater. We use the stormwater master plan for a lot of these major projects came out of that. The Sprague Avenue drainage improvements would be completed at the same time as the road, separate funding stream, but the project would be done together. We think that 1.3 million will be a little bit less based on the work that we've already done there. So the designs changed a little bit since the stormwater plan was completed. So that number will go down, but that's really the big project. Then we've got a couple others. And then we've used kind of that allocation method for sprinkler repairs. You might have seen us replace another section on Moulter over spring break if you're in town. So we're going to continue to do that because tree roots like to destroy sprinklers, unfortunately. So we've got that kind of allocated as just an annual maintenance allocation to replace infrastructure. All right, a couple more to go.
So the Sprague Avenue drainage improvement, is that when we replace Sprague Road?
Yes, ma'am.
So that's not going to be for a while though.
Yeah, I think we've got it 29, 30, depending on funding.
Don't forget to use your mics, you guys.
All right.
All right, so like I said, public art is hard to kind of figure out. So we've used, that allocation method. Jen took the current budget and kind of extrapolated that out over the 20-year period. You can see some of the things we've already got planned or are in process or going to be finishing up this year. But like I said, public art's hard. You never know what's going to be in vogue in 10, 15 years. We may want to do a statue of Chuck Norris or something like that. I don't know.
No.
No? Okay. Maybe something else. It's just an example. I don't get a vote, so. All right, so the next couple are really those minor combined info technology. Shane had kind of looked at our infrastructure and figured out we kind of need about this much to upgrade every so often, and that could obviously adjust as technology increases. But we've used that as well as for plans. So we have some plans, obviously, in the CFP, the feasibility studies for both the pool and the community center. And then really it's a lot of updates and development code and things like that we've included as little increments within the 20-year timeframe. But those are pretty small in the dollar value. I think I've got one more, and then we'll get to my favorite slide. So the golf course, for the most part, this is just facility component replacement. Obviously, the facility is fairly new, but over a 20-year time frame, we will have to replace things like HVACs and things like that. They don't last forever. So we've got some of that included in here, as well as a few possible upgrades to whether it's the driving range or the course have been included here as well. Obviously, that'll come down to a lot to revenue for the course as well. So, all right, we've made it. So what I tried to do here was take all the numbers and kind of show you what it looked like in its present form over the next 20 years, and to kind of show you where the big muscle movements kind of pop out, whether it's a lot of them are in facilities, because that's where we've indicated we may need some additional footprint in certain programs. You can kind of see down there at the bottom, a lot of our prioritization when it comes to roads is on arterials and collectors. And then after that, we would focus more on the local replacement. That's subject to discussion, obviously. That's just how we put it together based on current condition. But we could definitely adjust that a little bit based on need. But you definitely see some of the big chunks there that cause spikes. And this doesn't take into account if we took out a levy or a bond for the new library where we would pay it over time like we did Trailhead. This indicates we would basically just pay with basically cash. And obviously $10 million in 1 year is a lot based on our current financial situation. So just want to kind of give you an overall picture here using this kind of sand table graph, which may some questions.
All right. All right. Go ahead, Councilman Severs.
Excellent visual, and appreciate you putting that together. I think we're start talking about some more finances next week.
I think this may be helpful next week.
Yeah.
And we tried our best as we were putting it together to kind of normalize it as much as we could. But when you earmark $14 million for a library, it's hard to spread that over 3 years and not have peaks. So, but there are options to do that. We can talk a little bit more about those next week.
Anybody else?
I
Councilmember Pro
particularly
Tem.
appreciate the visualization, Ben, the description here, and it gives a real sense of specific years and specific targets. Can you say whether or not this graph reasonably reflects some of our prior budgeting activities with respect to capital expense?
I think it does for the most part, minus some of these bigger projects. Traffic control improvements. So those are pretty expensive, between $2 to $3 million, depending on what we're doing at an intersection. Obviously, the library is a large expense. The public safety expansion. Those are things that we really need to have frank discussions on next week and in the future. But for the most part, and I know we talked about a little bit during the pavement master plan, but the pavement, specifically the streets, does not reflect our current budget environment. We're about 50% of where we need to be to meet that plan.
Okay.
I've got one more.
Sorry about that.
Slide. So anybody has any questions? So we've So we've completed step one. I briefed this to Planning Commission on the 25th. This is the brief draft version to you. We'll come back next month with a kind of a final version if there's any changes recommended, just really for an action item to approve it. And then it would be included in the comprehensive master plan that Amy is wrapping up next month so that she can submit it for feedback in the month of May in order to meet our end of the year deadline to complete the plan and adopt it.
Okay. All right. Any further questions for Ben? Nobody? Not yet. Okay, well, we have further discussion next week. All right, thanks you. All right, next up, ordinance 142 repeal. Kyle's gonna walk us through this real quick. It's pretty much just administrative.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Excellent. So what we have in front of us here is a housekeeping item. So back in 2005, about 20 years ago or so, the city implemented a special events permit by ordinance 142, and that served the city really well for almost 20 years. Back in 2023, we had noticed kind of with the expansion of the recreation department and some other requests coming forward, not all of those requests were able to kind of fit within that special events permit. So there was kind of a redo of that permitting process. It is called the community events permit now as well, and that was adopted with the development code update back in the first part of 2024. And along with that, we did repeal a section of the municipal code that dealt with a piece of the special events permit. There's also another section in the municipal code that we're tackling tonight that specifically identifies the special events permit. So we're just doing some cleanup of the code just to make sure everything is seamless going forward. So with that, there isn't a ton here. I do want to give Mayor and Council the opportunity to ask any questions before this goes to first and second read.
Okay. Any questions for Kyle? I think it's pretty straightforward. Councilmember Klinger.
Yeah, I did a side-by-side comparison, and it looks like 302A is quite an improvement over 142, with it being more in alignment with our overall legal compliance and things like that. One thing I did note when I was doing it was that it seemed like 142 was more centralized and had an element of ease of use for especially first-time applicants, and 302A is a little bit more disparate and less centralized. And I was wondering if we have in the plans to make that fully digitalized, so that that user-friendly element is there, and it's more, again, centralized for the end user. From what I could see, you go to one site for the application, and then you have to download a PDF and then fill it out and email it in. And I was wondering if, we can, I agree with the changes overall, but is there a way to look at it and make it more centralized on the website, more user-friendly, especially for first-time applicants, and make it fully digitized so that they can do a full online application? And part of this comes from just me and my personal experience of using the website and finding it to be a little bit difficult sometimes with navigation. And I think that this would just be an overall step forward with our website and ease of use. That's the only comment I have.
So yeah, short response to that is absolutely. We'll look at that with the community development staff and see how we can make that more user-friendly on the website.
Okay. Any other questions? All right, thank you. This will come up as an action item in a little bit. Next up, we have the memorandum, I can never say that, memorandum of understanding between cities of Liberty Lake, Airway Heights, Millwood, Medical Lake, and Cheney. And I'm going to turn this over to Sean, I believe, or Mark.
This will
okay.
Yeah. And so we tried to get this into your hands with a few extra days to review it before tonight's discussion. And really tonight's discussion is to set the groundwork, allow you to ask questions, but we would be bringing this back next meeting for an action item. We did not want to put an action item on the same agenda as your first time seeing this. And so really what this stems from is the Spokane Transit Authority's bylaws in Article 2, Section 2.1A spell out the fact that what we're going to call the small cities, the ones that the mayor listed off, who are the parties of the MOU, are each required to appoint an ex officio board member. And if you'll recall, back on January 20th, the council appointed Mayor Pro Tem Dunn into that position. The bylaws further state that the small cities appoint an official board member that represents all of the cities. And right now, I believe that's the representative from Medical Lake, if I'm not mistaken. And so what this MOU is designed to do is among those municipalities, the Cheney, Liberty Lake, Airway Heights, Medical Lake, and Millwood, is require some discussion related to board actions so that the represented communities of the single director are represented. It doesn't require consensus. It doesn't require adopting someone else's viewpoint. It just creates a pathway to ensure that communication is happening among the cities that is related to actions that will affect them. And so that really is the essence of what the MOU is designed to do. And so if you have any questions on the document itself, the reason behind it, I'll be happy to try to answer those, but we would, with respect to next steps, we would propose to bring this back for consideration as an action item next week.
Okay. Councilmember Ball and then Mayor Pro Tem.
I just want to be clear, and Mark or Dan, you'll know this. So we have one person who represents all of the smaller cities mentioned here on the board?
Yep.
Okay. Just wanna make
Yeah.
that clear. Okay.
In the Public Transportation Benefit District that's been defined, the board membership was comprised, reflecting largely the populations of the constituencies. So for example, the city of Spokane has 4 voting members. The city of the Valley has 2 voting members. The county commissioners have 2 voting members, and then the small cities have 1. And so in this small cities arena, then it's Millwood, Airway Heights, Cheney, Medical Lake, Liberty Lake. And there is a rotation of the 1 voting member amongst those 5 on an annual period. We just have notes there. It's like I was the voting member for the immediately prior period.
Right.
And as Mark suggested, it's actually Lance Spears in Medical Lake. Coincidentally, Lance is at this hour the chair of the STA board. And the chair position also is in rotation. So it moves between the constituencies. And so Lance, not only as the small cities voter guy officio, but also now as the chair of the STA for the current period. So this MOU, I mean, did that answer your question? I just want to make sure.
Totally.
I would move on with some observations if you're set.
No, I'm good.
Okay. So I reflect on the MOU as kind of just, I don't know, codifying being nice, which is a good thing. I mean, really. And it reflects, there was, I'm going to say, a vote, which had come up, and I want to say probably about last year in the middle of the year, in which there was some differences of opinion. And so between, the guy who was voting at the time and then the other guy sitting around the table, just with the small cities. And so in this moment, this is, City Airway Heights getting together and saying, hey, we really need to be together in that. It was my practice when I was the voting member for the small city guys to really kind of call these guys. I mean, I really did actually. And, we went through the agenda and is there anything you guys think is a crisis or what we got to do? And so Lance, I think, has done that to some degree, but it's just kind of codifying that. And I don't have a problem with it. I think it's fine. I would commit that Lance, in my opinion, is so far doing okay. I don't think there's any true exceptions or problems with the nature of his work and the representing the small cities. as to the votes which come up and how that affects small cities versus large cities. This is one of, a very large, I call it, and very successful transit agency. And so most of the votes of the city or votes that come before the board have to do with continuing operations, budget activities, strategic plans, acquisitions, and those kinds of things. And so I act always in the interest, or I speak in the interest of our community, but then also of that transit agency as a whole. We as board members have to think of the disposition and the outcomes for really the entire public transportation benefit district. So, I reviewed the MOU and I think it's in order. I don't have any exceptions to it. I put it to practice when I was in that voting position, and I'm keeping everybody, I'm trying to keep them together when I'm in the ex officio as well.
Right. Any other questions or comments? All right, not hearing any. All right, we'll see this come back at the next meeting, right?
Yes.
And Mark, just for a quick note, I did get a DocuSign request from Cheney this afternoon asking me to sign it, and I responded, said it would be in next week's meeting.
Okay, and I'll update everybody that it will be on next week's agenda.
Okay, great. Yeah, my guess is it's just they've set it up in order and others have voted on it. It may expire, my link may expire before then, but we'll let them know.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, we are up to general business.
Madam Mayor, I would move general business item 10, actions A through H.
All right, we have a motion and a second by Councilmember Severs. Those in favor of approving general business consent agenda items A through H, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion passes.
Madam Mayor, I'd move on to general business item 11A.
All right. We have a motion to approve.
That was a move,
Okay,
sorry,
all right.
motion to
Just
general business 11A, donation to
Claire.
Liberty Lake Historical Society Pavilion Park sign.
perfect. We have a second by Councilmember Severs. I think Jen's on. If you guys have any questions on this, we've been talking about this type of installation for quite a while now, and it's I'm glad to start to see it coming closer to fruition. Jen, do you want to jump in, or do you guys want to start with questions on it?
Yeah, I can weigh in. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
So this is essentially a kiosk that's going to be installed near the pavilion at Pavilion Park, and it's going to explain the history of the park as well as the mural, and kind of tell the story of the history of the lake, the pavilion, the carousel, and then the mural on the building. So it's being donated by the Historical Society. It was originally budgeted by the Parks and Arts Commission. But it has turned around that the Historical Society is going to donate this, which is amazing and generous. And so tonight we just ask your approval for the donation.
That's a fantastic donation. That's frees things up in the Parks and Arts budget to do some other great things. And I wish somebody was here tonight from there for us to thank them. But I'll reach out, assuming we get this passed. So are there any questions? Councilmember Ball.
It's more of an observation. Jen, in the, let's see. Okay, where is it? Oh, yeah, the bottom left landowner. Okay, this sounds kind of.
What page are you on?
Where it shows what the thing will look like.
Is there a page of the agenda that you're on?
Oh, God, what page are we on?
Or what page of the presentation of the donation portion?
Where it shows the sign. Where am I?
Placement?
Hmm?
Are you talking about the placement of the sign, the location?
No, that shows what the sign's going to look like with all the different.
Page 108 of our packet.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
sorry.
Yes.
Okay, so bottom left, landowner. Do you see where I am?
Yes.
Okay, so it says, just a second, I'm trying to make it bigger. Well, anyway, okay, so it's talking about the sons. It says donor, about the donor, his sons, his brothers. Okay, here we are. The family included 10 boys and 2 girls who learned the value of community in a small Whitman County town. Elmer Schneidmiller was the most well-known of the siblings at Liberty Lake, having been a resident here and active in the community since the 1950s. At the time of the donation, the family farm included his sons, his brothers, and then it has the names in print. Are these the sons or the brothers? You see what I'm saying? It doesn't make sense.
I can follow up on that. Yeah, I don't know the details of the history, other than that they donated the land for Pavilion Park. But regarding this particular box, I cannot answer your
Well, I guess
question.
we
So
did all the names and didn't
yeah,
distinguish.
Yeah. So do you see what I'm saying? It just kind of doesn't make sense, you know? like,
yeah. And this is not the final. I actually received the final draft earlier today, and it was too late to put it in the packet. I doubt that box changed, but I certainly can ask about that.
Okay, thank you.
It looks like a grammatical.
Yeah.
All right. Great catch. All right. Anybody else have any questions? All right, not hearing any. Those in favor of approving the donation for the Liberty Lake Historical Society Pavilion Park sign, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Okay, we're up to council comments. Are there any additional council comments at this time? Mayor Pro Tem.
Comment, maybe question, if I could ask, regarding our restripes to Madsen, Ben, could you answer? Is that going to change the lines in the pavement at all? Yes. Sorry, I didn't pull it out of general business.
No problem. So that will actually, so we've got that middle lane. It's 3 lanes right now. And I think they had good intentions when they did that, but a lot of the development doesn't align with that configuration. So they're going to be reconfiguring it to a 2-lane road and have parking spots on either side.
Thank you. That's the only thing I was worried was Madsen always been a people parking the bike lanes.
That's exactly why we're doing it.
Yeah,
Thank
we were
you.
able to put signs up to help a little bit earlier or late last year, but this is the permanent solution.
It's crowded there.
Okay, next, Councilmember Ball.
Well, a couple questions. Mark, what was the date again for that Safety and Resilience Fair?
April 30th, which is
Okay.
a Thursday, I believe.
Okay, and then when are we gonna get a sign-up sheet for farmer's market?
I'll work with Mikhail on getting that out.
Because when does it start?
Mid-May.
Oh, okay. And, well, that's coming up.
Yes.
And then, I forgot to mention CERT training is free. You don't have to pay for it. And then, I ran into Officer Fritz recently, and I didn't know he'd been promoted to detective. Was he acknowledged?
We had a ceremony at the PD.
Oh, well, I still think we should have said something here, but anyway, he seemed happy.
Yeah, we actually had 2 promotions.
Oh, hello. Yeah, we didn't have a thing here. Well, Kyle Fritz, he was promoted to detective, and I didn't know that, but I ran into him at the gym, and he told me he was a detective now, but we never had a little.
Yeah, we didn't do a formal ceremony, but we did have a little bit of a ceremony at the PD for his promotion up to a detective.
Yeah. And then he said he's also the helicopter guy. I didn't know that either.
He's been doing that for a couple of years now, yeah.
Yeah, he is something else.
Yep, he's a busy individual, that's for
Yeah.
sure. We
Okay.
appreciate that.
All right, thank you. Any other council comments? Not hearing any. Public hearings and appeals, we don't have any. We do have a resolution number 12-156H for the City Council Rules of Procedure.
So as the council will remember, there have been several discussions about recreating some committees and then some other minor items. Chief among them is adding a appointments item to the agenda and promoting it so that those things happen faster than they had previously been scheduled on the agenda. Those are the 2 principal changes that you will find incorporated into this resolution that has been adopted into 156H. The committee language you will find down on page 13. And that is the bulk of the amendment that you'll be considering tonight.
Okay, and I will, just a side note, I'll have the committee recommendations based on your feedback at the next meeting. Great. Were there any questions about the ordinance, the resolution before we have Rochelle read it in? No. Okay, go ahead.
Resolution 12-156H, a resolution of the City of Liberty Lake, Washington, amending the City Council Rules of Procedure.
All right, do we have a motion?
Madam Mayor, I move resolution 12-156H.
Second. We have a second by Councilmember Fisher. All right, any discussion? Anybody?
I just want to recognize and thank the council for consideration. I believe this is an important step in improving efficiency and bringing forward, I'd say, more and more qualified information for us to consider during council meetings as well. So I'm looking forward to participation.
All right, any other comments? All right, not hearing any. This is a resolution. We do open up the floor to comments from the public on resolutions and ordinances. So if there's anybody here in chambers who'd like to make a comment on this resolution in particular, please speak now or forever hold your peace. Do we have anybody online who might want to make a comment on this resolution? We do not. Okay. All right. So hearing no public comment, and I'm assuming no further comments from the council. Those in favor of approving resolution 12-156H, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? Okay, motion passes 7-0. Next, we have first read ordinance 142A.
Ordinance 140, Ordinance 142A, an ordinance of the City of Liberty Lake, Washington, repealing Ordinance 142, adopting regulations for special events.
Okay, do we have a motion?
This is a first read, I believe.
Yeah, oh yeah, duh, yeah.
But Madam
We
Mayor,
don't
I
need
would
it.
move that we suspend the rules and move directly to a second read on ordinance 142A.
Okay, do we have, okay, we have a motion and a second to suspend the rules to move to a second read. So this discussion and vote will be on suspending the rules. Is there anybody have any comment on that? Not hearing any. All right, those in favor of suspending the rules to go to a second read, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right,
Madam Mayor, I would move us again then 142A.
hold on, Rochelle.
Ordinance 142A, an ordinance of the City of Liberty Lake, Washington, repealing Ordinance 142, adopting regulations for special events.
Now you're on.
Sure. I would move ordinance 142A.
Okay, we have a motion and then a second by Councilmember Severs. Again, any questions? We had the workshop a little earlier, so I'm not expecting any. All right, time for citizen comments. Any citizen comments in chambers or online on ordinance 142A? Not seeing or hearing any. Those in favor of approving ordinance 142A, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? My motion passes 7-0. We have no emergency ordinances. We have introduction of upcoming agenda items. So you should have your sheet on your table here. We've got lots of things coming up with rapid fire meetings and workshops over the next couple weeks. I think we had a nice little break and we're making up for it. So we have our hazard mitigation risk plan and finance workshop next week. Then we do have the town hall on the 28th, which has obviously fallen off of this. Special meeting proposed for review of the draft comprehensive plan. And then following with the sidewalk master plan, parks plan, and governance manual. So we are scheduled out through mid-May at this point. Mayor Pro Tem.
Madam Mayor, if we could see on the 21st also committee schedule and assignments.
We will add that as an action item to approve the assignments. Okay, anybody else? Go.
So
Councilmember
April
Ball.
27th through May 9th, so, I mean, is it one meeting or?
We're meeting every day for 3 hours between those dates.
What? Stop.
I had one of those meeting invites the other day. Did you really mean for it to be in perpetuity?
Councilmember Ball, that's a window of time. It'll happen somewhere within that window of time.
Got it.
Councilmember Klingler.
I don't know the exact procedure, but I'm going to be out of the country on April 17th through May 3rd.
Okay, we will take that in consideration. We'll have a doodle poll out. We'll discuss it.
Okay.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right, any other questions, comments on the workshops? Okay. Did we're back to citizen comments. Anybody here or online like to make an additional citizen comment, please? Okay, come on up, Mr. Phobes.
Great.
Thank you. Continue. The bottom line of what I'm trying to say is that I think what's appropriate to have in the plan is in line with what Lynn was saying, the standard of service. The standard of service for sizing the library is 1 square foot per capita at maximum build out. Having the numbers in the plan calculated in 2018 for a library that comes online at the soonest in your plan in 2032 is 12 years out of date. So the formula is what should be in the planning document, not the result of an old calculation. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Okay. All right. If we don't have, do we have anybody online for any more citizen comments? No. All right. So we do have an executive session for RCW 42.30.110.1G, evaluation of the qualifications of an applicant for public employment. So there will be no decisions during the meeting, and when we come out, we will adjourn. So we expect to be out for how long, Mark, approximately?
Let's start with 15 minutes.
Okay, so we will plan on, we're gonna take a couple minute break to get over there, so come back at 8:40. Does that work? Okay, so we'll plan on being back at 8:40. Good evening, everybody. It is 8:40. We have adjourned from an executive session. No decisions made as promised, and there's no further business before the council, so we will adjourn. Have a great night.